Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
What is up? Welcome into the GSMC Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Dougherty. Of course, this podcast is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. It is a Friday here at the GSMC Podcast Network, and we have lots to talk about. A good show, big show coming up for lots of stuff going on around the baseball world. We did have a Red Sox and Yankees series. I did talk about it a lot on Wednesday, and after I was done with my show on Wednesday, we saw some fireworks going on in Fenway Park. Not the only park to be seeing a little bit of some extracurricular activities going on the field, but also in Colorado, I believe. Yeah, Colorado. The Padres and the Rockies were the first team to have a little on-field skirmish. There was some stuff going on. You saw the show is going to be talking about a little bit of unwritten rules coming up. Possibly, I think, in the second segment after we recap the week in this first segment. But I just want to talk about, if you did not see on Wednesday, we had two benches clearing brawls, one in Fenway and one in Coors Field in Colorado, after some stuff where people were rubbed the wrong way. I mean, you could say that, and we'll get to the implications of what happened after the fact when it comes to suspensions and different things that happened on the field after. And then we have, obviously, some baseball to talk about as well. But in this first segment, we are going to recap the week. Second segment, I'll go over. I mean, baseball it's an old sport. It's an old sport. It's been around for a long time. It's our national pastime for a reason. And there are definitely some unwritten rules involved in Major League Baseball, especially when you come to teams and they just don't. People don't like being shown up. People don't like being disrespected. So definitely, people come and like to defend their guys, defend their teammates, and eventually sometimes leads to some on-field, like I said, some extracurricular activities. But we'll get to that the second segment. In the third segment, we're gonna go over what's going on this weekend, and then in the fourth segment, I'll probably highlight some of my all-stars of the week. We had another Shohei Ohtani sighting yesterday. He hit his first Major League triple. As you can see, he showed off his speed. We'll be talking about that, and then some of our surprise teams so far in this season. We'll be going over that in the last segment. All right. So this first segment, we're going over what happened since I was last with you on Wednesday. Like I said, we had the Yankees and Red Sox playing this week at Fenway Park in Boston. The Red Sox, we talked about it, blew out the Yankees in the first game, 14-1. Yankees came back and won the game 2 amidst that brawl that happened in Fenway. They won that one going away. I mean, it was the Tanaka and David Price start. David Price did not pitch too well, only lasting. I mean, the Yankees did win that one 10-7. Price only going one inning, allowing 3 hits, 4 runs on 3 hits, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. They did give up a home run, and then the bullpen couldn't really hold on as well, as they also got kind of touched up in that game, as it was a high-scoring affair, but the Red Sox were not able to match the Yankees' 10 runs there, as it was a final for 10-7. And then yesterday, the Red Sox came back amidst a rain delay. They did win that one 6-3. A nice pitching performance by Rick Porcello. He had a no-hitter going, I believe, through 6 or 7 innings. He was going, so he was dominating that Yankee lineup, looking really good. Looking like he was going to have a comeback season there, as if he was not. It wasn't that good last year. Yeah, he had a no hitter through 6, lost it in the 7th inning. So definitely a good look if you're a Red Sox fan. Took 2 out of 3 at home from your hated rivals and had a brawl within that series right in the middle there. But we also had seen some other stuff going on, as we had a Giancarlo Stanton sighting. Not much going on with the bat for Giancarlo. Yesterday on Wednesday, it was the Gary Sanchez show. He hit 2 home runs. both of which cleared the monster in left field. And then Stanton did have a triple that scored a couple runs. But yesterday, if you guys haven't seen the highlight, I would advise you to go watch what happened in left field to Giancarlo Stanton. I don't know if it was the wind or the weather going on in Boston, but Jackie Bradley, I believe, Jackie Bradley or Mookie Betts hit a fly ball right down the left field line. And Stanton was going over to see if he could get it along the wall if he was going to go out of play, and it went right over his head and landed in fair territory, bouncing over the sidewall for a ground rule double. I mean, it's pretty funny. I mean, it's almost the same kind of thing that happened to Eric Hosmer last week on an infield pop-up where he just overran it and the ball went over his head, allowing the winning run to come in and score, and that was actually a walk-off of all things. So, yeah, it was Jackie Bradley Jr. hit that ball down the left field line, knocked in a run to make it 5-0 Red Sox yesterday. But the story of the day was Rick Porcello. He did pitch very well in his first start for the Red Sox in this rivalry. He went 7 innings, only allowed 2 hits, no runs, 6 strikeouts, looking really good. And then the bullpen was able to hold on there till the end and get that win for the Red Sox. Another team that's looking really good right now is the Angels. They've won 5 in a row. I talked about Shohei Ohtani just a second ago. He did have a triple in that game. He's got good speed. I mean, we haven't talked too much about it. We talk a lot about his pitching and his power, but I mean, I think I said a couple shows ago he had a ground ball down over to the second baseman, a pretty routine play, and he sprinted down the line and made it a close play. I think Mike Scioscia is kind of telling him to cut that one out. I saw him ground out again, and he didn't really take it as hard, but definitely something to watch as Shohei did go. It was his one hit. He went 1 for 4. Did knock in 3 runs with that triple. Was a bases clearing triple for the Angels, and they got a win over the Royals 7-1. Good start for these Angels. They're kind of running out these pitchers. They got Nick Tropiano came and pitched for the Angels in his first start. Now he went 6 2/3 innings, no runs on 6 hits. 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, so looking pretty good. I mean, it is the Royals lineup. Royals are a little gutted right now, not looking like they're probably going to be sitting in the bottom of the AL Central this season. But you never know. I mean, we're going to get to some of my surprise teams at the end of the show. You can just take a look at the standings and probably figure out who they are anyways. I'm looking at you, Pittsburgh. But, there's definitely a couple teams out there who are making a good run for it here at the beginning of the season, getting out to a good start, while we have our favorites. We have our favorites that I kind of picked out during the first show before the season even started that have actually gotten off to a really good start. So, not so good of a start. I'll take that back. Not so good of a start. I mean, looking at you, the Dodgers at 4-7, Nationals are at 6-7. We have the Yankees are at 6-7. I mean, that's pretty much it. Everybody else is pretty much on track right there. Cleveland, they're doing fine. So is Houston. They're both sitting in second place in their divisions. But it's a long season. These teams are sitting at single-digit wins, single-digit losses. We're not close to really. I mean, what you can look at it as for baseball, the way I like to look at it is you have a 9-inning game is the whole season. So you split it up into 9 innings. So every 18-game slate is 1 inning. So we're barely in the first inning right now of this season. So you just break up that season into 18 game little segments, and you'll get to 9 innings throughout the season. So we're definitely not quite into a position where we're just going to talk anything seriously about playoff implications for sure. But you like to see your team get off to a hot start, don't you? Of course you do. All right, some other stuff to go along on Thursday, we had the Nationals drop a game to the Rockies. The Nationals having a tough time at home. They're having a tough time at home. I mean, they got swept by the Mets at home. We went over that on the Monday and the Wednesday show. But yeah, no, the Nationals having a tough time at home. They're 2-5 in the nation's capital at their home park. Well, they're 4-2 on the road, so I mean that's not bad looking there. But 2-5 again at home. They're probably gonna have to right that ship a little bit, especially when you have Bryce Harper hitting the way he is. You got to be able to support that and pitch. But yesterday the Rockies were able to stymie them. Chad Bettis had a nice start. Chad Bettis, if you guys don't know, Chad Bettis was diagnosed with cancer. I think either last season or the season before, and he battled all the way back and now is pitching in the major leagues once again. You got to give it up to that guy. What a hard worker. I mean, that's a long haul right there. Definitely a retro pitching style guy with his high socks up there, but definitely a guy who you can definitely tip your cap to, because I mean he during the 2016 season he was in the rotation, but then was diagnosed early of 2016 with cancer, and then came back all the way and made his first appearance in the majors after being diagnosed with cancer last summer. So he's looking pretty good now as he comes through, and it's going to probably hopefully stay for a full season here with the Rockies, as he went into the Nationals park and beat down a good Nationals lineup, going 7 innings, allowing 1 run on 3 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. He gave up a home run to Howie Kendrick, but that was about it. The 1 run he allowed was that home run. So the Rockies looking pretty good there in Colorado. Any other games to look at? The Twins and the White Sox went at it in Minneapolis. The Twins shut out the White Sox 4-0. A nice pitching performance from Berrios. That's a good guy. That's a good pitcher. That's someone to watch. If you're looking for a good young pitching talent, Jose Berrios is really good. He's at a 2.18 ERA right now, as he was able to drop it 7 innings, no runs, 3 hits, 11 strikeouts. I mean, you're going to go even against it's a major league lineup. The White Sox, they put up some runs this season. I mean, they scored 14 runs in their opening day game, so it's not saying nothing. But yeah, if you're the Twins, you definitely got to like the fact that you have a young righty there in Jose Berrios, who throws hard and throws well, and just went 7 innings of shutout ball last night in Minneapolis. Went over the Angels and Angels, everybody else, Cardinals blowing out the Reds. We have the Indians beating up on the Tigers. Oh, here we go. Yes, the Pirates and Cubs series. That's what I wanted to talk about. I was looking through my notes here. I'm just kind of get this all figured out. What's going on with the Cubs here? They're 6-6. I mean, it's early, but you're playing against a Pirates team that I've preached about earlier, the fact that they're kind of this team that was over this offseason, everybody's like, oh my gosh, they're selling everybody. They got rid of McCutchen. They got rid of Garrett Cole. What are we going to do? Well, I've already said it. You still have Marte. You still have Polanco. You have these young guys. You got Corey Dickerson. I mean, I don't know why the Rays decided to release him, but the Rays do what the Rays do. Corey Dickerson now on the Pirates, playing well. And you got a good starting rotation. You got Jamison Tyone and his friends over there. I mean, who pitched yesterday? You only allowing the Cubs to 1 run with Williams, who's 3-0. And we got Trevor Williams, a good young arm who's now 3-0 in the season. He went 6 innings, allowed 1 run on 6 hits, 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, give up a home run. And I mean, when you have a guy like that when you see he gave up 1 run on a home run, that basically means he gave up 1 run. He had 1 bad pitch all game. He didn't give up a bunch of singles that eventually came around to score. He gave up 1 home run. Made 1 location mistake to Kyle Schwarber, and he made him pay for it. But that was about it. The Cubs could not get any more against him, and the Pirates bullpen was pretty darn good, as they kept the Cubs scoreless throughout the rest of the game. Pittsburgh did get a 4 spot in the 7th inning to blow that one open, make it 6-1, and they got the win, taking 2 out of 3 from the Cubs and kind of ruining their opening series at the friendly confines in North Chicago. So if you're a Pirates fan, you got to like that. Beating up on the would-be division favorites. We'll see, but how that ends up. Mets continue their winning ways. They did not play on Thursday, but on Wednesday after my show. On Wednesday, they did beat the Marlins. I mean, you got to talk. Mets are playing some. I mean, they did go. You have to give them credit. They did go into Nationals Park and sweep them there. They did sweep the Nationals at home in our nation's capital, but they did get they got a nice little series as they go into Miami and take care of business there against the Marlins, beating them 4-1. Zach Wheeler went again for the Mets, looking pretty good as he went 7 innings, allowing only 1 run on 2 hits, 7 strikeouts and 1 walk. And again, that 1 run was a home run by Miguel Rojas. So Zach Wheeler coming back after giving that the 1 run in the first inning. Actually, I think, did he get stuck with a no decision? Oh, he did get the win because he stayed. He was the pitcher of record. The Mets scored 4 runs in the 8th inning. It was 1-0 the whole game. Miami looking like they could maybe steal one from the Mets, but the bullpen could not hold on as the Marlins or the Mets were able to score 4 in the 8th inning and give the young Zach Wheeler a good win for himself. All right, everything else looking like we did have a walk-off on Wednesday after my show. The Phillies walked off on the Reds on a sacrifice fly. Those are always nice. I mean, you get people on base. It's a good situational baseball right there. You got to like that. All right. Other than that, the brawls and stuff, we'll get to that on the next segment. We'll talk about some unwritten rules. We did go over what happened in Major League Baseball the last 2 days, the key games, some good pitching performances that we saw over the last couple days since our last show. And then we'll talk about some unwritten rules, like I said, next segment. And then the third segment, we're gonna preview this upcoming weekend and look at some pitching matchups that I like to see and some stuff that you guys can look at and be on the lookout for coming this weekend. All right, we'll be right back.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
All right, welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast. Last segment, we went over some games of note from the last 2 days since my last show. And now in this segment, we're going to be talking about some of baseball's unwritten rules. We did have a couple brawls on Wednesday. It's interesting they happened in the same day. And I mean, everybody's like, oh, baseball brawls, they're not exciting. Nothing happens. They just come out and stand around. Bullpen finally runs out of the bullpen and gets there. Nothing's happening. Well, these ones are real. There were some punches thrown. There were some suspensions handed out. We haven't seen the ones come out from the game in Colorado, though. Padres and Rockies are yet. Nolan Arenado, I'll get to what happened, but Nolan Arenado is still waiting on and seeing what he is going to have to deal with regarding a suspension and how many games he's going to miss for the Rockies. However, in Boston, this is what I'm going to get to when it comes to unwritten rules. So we have, we're going to start here. We have new sliding rules. So on double play balls, there are new rules regarding how hard you can slide into second base, and whether if you come off the base or you're aiming towards that middle infielder who's coming across the bag to turn a double play. If you're gonna, because we already had, it's basically the Ruben Tejada rule. If you guys can go look at what happened against when Chase Utley slid into Ruben Tejada hard and he snapped his leg basically because he got caught up against the bag and it hurt his leg pretty badly there. You had Tyler Austin for the Yankees. They're one of their DH guys, slid in hard against Brock Holt of the Red Sox. Kind of put his cleat up in the air there. I mean, you could see it was pretty obvious that he stuck his leg up on purpose. It wasn't really that hard of contact, but I mean, when you have metal spikes going in on somebody's ankle, you never want to see that, and you can get caught on there and maybe break some skin, draw some blood, maybe rip up his ankle a little bit there. You never know what's going to happen. So definitely the Red Sox and Brock Holt took offense to that. Did not like that there, as I mean, these teams do not really like each other anyways. It's kind of written into the rules of each team. This is the rivalry for a reason. But then the next time Tyler Austin comes up, Joe Kelly puts one on his ribs. And I advise you to go watch the highlight go watch the video of it because it's pretty interesting. He runs one right on his ribs, and then Tyler Austin, not happy about it, slams his bat on the ground and goes right after Joe Kelly. He did hesitate for a second, not quite as decisive as Nolan Arenado's charge to the mound, but we did have 2 mound chargings in one day in Major League Baseball. So I mean, these unwritten rules here, we actually have a written rule now, actually, saying that you cannot slide too hard into second base like that. You have to make sure you stay in contact with the bag and you don't angle yourself towards a player or stick your hands up in the air or anything to try and knock down a throw or to interrupt the player's play coming, the infielder's play coming across the bag there to turn 2. I mean, you do still want to break up the double play. That's your job there as that lead runner going into second base to break up that double play. But you don't flash your spikes at somebody. I'm sorry, you don't want to get somebody hurt. I mean, this is not dirty ball. This is baseball. This is not a game. You want to break up the double play as best you can, but they're still going to probably turn it. I mean, it happens all the time. You see double plays turn left and right, be people sliding halfway down the line. I mean, yeah, you can go hard into second base, but go hard and clean. Don't let your leg get up there. I mean, obviously, you could tell his leg. He stuck his leg up a little higher than intended. That you should usually intend to do, and no, you don't want to do that. I mean, that's a not only an unwritten rule, but it's more of a safety rule. You mean you don't want to spike somebody? I mean, come on. All right, so then you get a pitch in the ribs. So, yeah, Joe Kelly. That's why you're going to see him get a 6-game suspension. Likely, also, I mean, Austin got slapped with a 5-game suspension. So, by Major League Baseball, it's probably a combination of the fact that they threw punches in this brawl, but also because Joe Kelly, what you kind of do is your catcher, when that guy comes up, I mean, he can almost expect that he's going to get one. It's a baseball. I don't know if it's a baseball thing, but when you have an opportunity to throw a pitch at somebody, you're going to do it because, I mean, you take care of what your team is going to do. You send a message. You got a guy almost cleating somebody, ripping up his ankle. You got to make him pay for it. I mean, I don't condone this necessarily, but that's unwritten baseball rules. That's been part of baseball for, I mean, since its inception. You got to be able to have accountability here and take care of your guys. I mean, there's even been managers who either tell their players to do it or don't really care. Let the guys take care of it themselves. They don't get upset. It's going to happen. Like I remember Tony La Russa. He used to say that whatever happens, happens. I mean, the guy who deserved it. Some of the times I'm not pointing any fingers here, Tony, but I think that there's definitely been a time or two where you have called it from the bench to have a guy be hit. But I mean, you're never going to admit, yeah, we hit him on purpose. You're never going to say that. I mean, that's not something you do. You just like, yeah, no, sorry, it slipped. You got a fastball in the ribs. Sorry, buddy. But Joe Kelly definitely let him have it right there, putting it right under his. I mean, you don't want to headhunt people. That's the thing. When you're going to send a message like that, you do exactly what Joe Kelly did. You put it right under his armpit, or let him turn. It'll hit him in the numbers. You don't want to You're not throwing into people's heads. Don't throw people's heads. We'll continue on these unwritten rules. Don't headhunt people. If you're trying to bean somebody, plunk somebody, hit somebody to send a message back, just throw it right in the ribs, just like you saw with Joe Kelly and Tyler Austin. I mean, what a reaction right there! Just slams his bat on the ground, breaks it probably, or I mean, definitely didn't really break it in half, but he definitely snapped his bat pretty good with that nice little slam on the ground. He was pretty pissed off, and then just took a couple beats to decide, okay, am I going to do this? Am I going to do this? And then Joe Kelly, you could tell if you see the replay, was egging him on there a little bit, and then they ran after each other and exchanged some blows. A little more contact on those punches, a little more. They landed a couple of those jabs compared to the next brawl I'll talk about when it was over in Colorado. What happened actually was quite an interesting thing that happened over there, where it wasn't really a back and forth or a play. There was a play preceding it, just like the slide into second base. But what happened was on Tuesday, we had one of the Padres starters, their center fielder, got hit in the ribs. Actually, I don't think it would be intentional, but he did get hit in the ribs, and it actually is going to land him on it landed him on the disabled list. It either cracked or bruised one of his ribs pretty badly on a hard fastball up and in. And then the next game, the Rockies didn't really do it. I mean, the Padres didn't do anything about it. No retaliation on Tuesday. But then on Wednesday, 2 more guys got hit, whether it was by accident or, I mean, I'm assuming it was because, I mean, why would you want to hit guys on purpose for no reason there? Unless there's some sort of, I don't know. No, it was probably not on purpose. But then, of course, Luis Perdomo, now 3 of his guys have gotten hit. And you got you usually when you're trying to make a statement against a team, you're going to go after their big player, their big star. So up comes Nolan Arenado. I mean, either he was expecting it and already kind of decided what he was going to do ahead of time because he did not waste any time going after Perdomo. He didn't even get hit by Perdomo yet. He threw behind. He actually threw a pitch behind him. And when you get thrown behind, I mean, come on, these are Major League Baseball players. If it was like maybe a slider or an off-speed pitch that slipped out of his hand and went wildly behind the guy, but no, he threw a fastball behind him. Basically, he just missed him. He was trying to hit him, obviously, pretty clearly, and he just missed him, and it went behind Nolan. I mean, wasn't close to the head or anything like that. You got to note that. I mean, he wasn't trying to headhunt him or anything. He was just trying to send him a message, and he threw it behind him, and Nolan definitely took offense to that, and they went at it as well. But the difference is here, instead of a bunch of players coming in to play peacemaker, you had guys like Gerardo Parra and I think it was, who else was it? The catcher for AJ Ellis coming in for the Padres, who were definitely taking advantage of the fact that we had a brawl and they were going to throw some of their own punches going on. You can look at the replay and see that Perdomo did the old-fashioned Mayweather slip on Nolan as he came across with a big haymaker, and Perdomo just ducked underneath it. It was pretty good going right there. We didn't see as many punches being landed as we did see in the Red Sox. But I mean, baseball is a game where it gets chippy out there. We obviously see fights in other sports a lot at a time, and it's not quite the magnitude of Aqib Talib ripping off Michael Crabtree's chain or going across the field fighting. But I mean, we actually got some two pretty decent baseball brawls on Wednesday. I mean, when I tell people about, there's a brawl, okay, what happened? They just like jawed at each other and we were looking at each other. No, this time there actually was real brawls, and some people are going to get, we've already seen 2 suspensions happen, but some people are going to get in trouble, and obviously we have already seen that happen on the Red Sox side, and we're going to see that probably on the Rockies and Padres side, as Nolan Arenado and Perdomo are probably going to see their suspensions coming down the pike pretty soon here. Major League Baseball is interesting. They must be taking their time to review the Padres and Rockies one, because that actually happened first on Wednesday, but they came out with the suspensions for the Red Sox and Yankees pretty quickly after their game on Wednesday. They came out with the suspensions yesterday, slapping Joe Kelly with the 6-gamer and Tyler Austin with the 5-game suspension. So Nolan, beware, as I'm seeing a lot of reports saying that that will be an indication of what Nolan Arenado is going to have to expect coming maybe today or this weekend, as he's going to be dealing with a suspension. And same thing with Perdomo, and probably a couple other players, because they ejected, I think, 2 or 3 players. Well, they definitely ejected, obviously, Nolan and Perdomo. They ejected Gerardo Parra for sure as well. I think they may have also ejected AJ Ellis in that game. But lots of unwritten rules in baseball. You don't slide high on a second baseman. You don't try and cleat him. You don't throw at people. I mean, unless it's like a really retaliation thing. I mean, the Padres, they got beaten 3 times. It happens in baseball. The guy was wild. It happened the day before, and the guy got hurt. I mean, the team's a little upset. Their guy got hurt, and then you're hitting 2 more guys. What if more guys are going to get hurt? But that weren't on purpose, and obviously Perdomo was on purpose. But some interesting stuff. I mean, if you're in a brawl, my best thing to do, probably don't get involved. What are you doing? Just go grab onto somebody and hold somebody back. Be a peacemaker. Be somebody you're going to hold somebody back. I don't know why, but we saw Mark McGwire, who knows Nolan Arenado pretty well, has been a hitting coach with him before, and trying to get up in Nolan's face and maybe calm him down, but then he ended up enraging him a little more too, as he had to be held back from McGwire as well. As I don't know, baseball guys they're very prideful people, and everybody's like, you don't do that. You should know better, blah, blah, blah. You should know better. And there's a lot of different abilities to get. I mean, everybody, they're right there. The guys are right across the field from each other, short distance. And when you have everybody out there, things can get pretty unruly pretty fast. All right. I mean, that's what we got to talk about here. I mean, these unwritten rules in baseball, you don't do that. I mean, we talked about picking signs. Everything is kind of going away. It's kind of becoming more fluid these days. Not as much old stuff where picking signs and everything, everybody picks signs. I mean, we saw last year or the year before, Red Sox trying to pick signs with an Apple Watch. It was interesting. But yeah, a lot of different unwritten rules in baseball. I have a whole book of them, but I just wanted to go over a couple regarding these brawls that may have led to these brawls, different things that people get ticked off about. And throughout the course of a baseball game, it's definitely interesting to see, especially when it comes to two rivals like the Red Sox and Yankees. I mean, they might have another one next time they see each other. You never know. And then obviously the Padres and Rockies, I don't know. They don't really have a big of a rivalry. Padres are pretty much cellar dwellers, have been for a while, but and the Rockies are actually doing pretty well and have been doing pretty well last season. This season they're 7-7, so they're probably going to get kicking it into gear here. Over in Colorado, they have some good players now. Signing Charlie Blackmon to a long-term deal, and they obviously got Nolan, and their pitching is starting to get figured out. They got a nice start from Chad Bettis last game. All right, so that'll wrap it up for this segment. Talked about some unwritten rules, went over the different brawls that happened. Advise you, if you like to go see a baseball brawl, go watch the highlights of what happened on Wednesday. They're pretty decent watches. It's always nice hearing the different TV calls, the different broadcasters from either team kind of give their insights on which team is at fault here, which team is doing what, and kind of pointing fingers at the other team usually, or telling players to back away and not get injured. So all right, next segment, we're going to talk about some stuff coming up for this weekend, some games to look at, some starters, some matchups that we're going to like and we're going to watch, and maybe even talk about the Sunday Night Baseball game, which usually is a pretty good matchup, and we'll be right back with all of that.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast. We've talked about some unwritten rules, some brawls that went down on Wednesday, some stuff maybe it's not really it's all in the baseball world. It's all part of the game. It's all part of baseball. I mean, who doesn't like a good mound charge? I mean, if you're a baseball purist, you like to see a real brawl. I mean, you can watch those highlights. We went over the games from the past 2 days on Wednesday and Thursday. Some great performances. I actually kind of forgot. We did have a nice. If you guys don't know who Max Kepler is, go look at him. He's a nice little player for the Twins. He had a walk-off home run on Thursday. It was a nice. I think it was part of a 2-homer game. Actually, on Wednesday, he had a walk-off home run. It was part of a 2-homer game for Kepler, giving the Twins a win over the Astros. Nice little win for the Astros. I mean, for the Twins, they are getting a win over the defending World Series champion. But yeah, Max Kepler got 2 home runs, hit 2 pretty good bombs over the right field wall there in Minneapolis. It's a beautiful stadium. If you haven't been to it was out in Minneapolis. You guys have a beautiful stadium out there. I can't wait to get out there for myself and go see a Twins game. I'll wait till the summertime so I don't have to wear my parka. But yeah, that's a beautiful stadium out there in Target Field. All right, so we're going to get to some games coming up this weekend. Some interesting matchups. We got the renewal of the All-Texas rivalry. The Astros did open the season in Texas. This time now, the Rangers will be coming to Houston, a little short trek from Arlington down to the southeast reaches of Texas to Houston to Minute Maid Park. Again, game 1 tonight, we're going to be having Cole Hamels go against Garrett Cole. So a little interesting thing there. If you look at the interesting is Cole Hamels. So both guys, Garrett Cole came out with a nice little start in his first game. He's a 1-0 now in the season with a sub-1 ERA. Looking to bounce to work off of that. Hamels, he's 1-2 with the 5.06 ERA after I think that's 3 starts there for Cole Hamels. So, Rangers trying to ride the ship. They've started off the season 4-10. They're kind of going into a tough series here as they go into the danger zone there in Houston, a stadium where those Astros like to win. They win a lot of games at home. Definitely a park that's suited for them and their big bats as they like to blast pitches out of that park. Other than that, I mean, we have Dodgers and Diamondbacks getting their series started in L.A. Zach Greinke going against Kenta Maeda. The Dodgers trying to turn it around. They've started off the season pretty weak start to the season for the Dodgers. They're going to be they're 4-7 coming into this game. I mean, they did come off a series against the A's, where I believe the A's took 2 out of 3 from them. So if you're defending, maybe it's a game 7 little hangover coming off. I mean, it's a tough thing getting back into real baseball after losing a heartbreaker like that to the Astros and losing in Game 7 of all things. Yeah, the A's split that series. They came off. Dodgers lost Game 2 and of a two-game series, 16-6. So they're trying to bounce that one back against a tough right-hander in Zach Greinke, a guy that used to be a Dodger and left their team for a massive contract. If everybody noticed, two off seasons ago, to play in the desert for the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are sitting on top of the NL West standings right now at 9-3. Definitely a nice start for them. Over in Cleveland, we have Clevenger and Stroman going out, as we have the Blue Jays and the Indians. Someone said Rockies. Toronto Blue Jays and the Cleveland Indians. Mike Clevenger coming off a nice strong outing against the Royals on Sunday, where he only allowed one run on 9 hits over 7 1/3 innings. Definitely looking like he can keep that one going, as they have his counterpart is Marcus Stroman, who's been a good pitcher over the years, did not have a good season. He's only he needs to bounce back right now, as he has not yet to find his groove. He's got 9 runs allowed over 9 2/3 innings in his last 2 starts, so definitely having problems with his control in the last outing. Definitely some cold conditions coming for him now, and going over to Cleveland to play this game tonight at Progressive Field. It's going to be pretty chilly, as he's going to have to work on maybe keeping those fingers warm so he can get a nice grip on that ball, not keep it from coming right over the plate or getting little fits of wildness, which can tend to happen when it's pretty chilly out there. All right. I mean, we're going to have, that's pretty much it regarding pitching matchups. We do have some interesting series coming up. Obviously, the Rockies and the Nationals started their series yesterday and are going to be continuing over the weekend. The Giants are down in AT&T Park South, which is what some California people like to call Petco Park sometimes, because of you get so many Giants fans down there going to the game in San Diego. And you could tell, I mean, every time the good thing happens for the Giants, you'll hear a roar of the fans like they're playing at home. So it's happened like that for a few years now, and it's pretty interesting. It's funny how they call it that, but Giants are going to be going out there after getting the win yesterday to start off the series. They'll be finishing that one over the weekend. A's and Seattle Mariners are going to be playing as they get their series started in Seattle. A little AL West showdown, as we have a couple of those. Talked about the Houston Astros series. Our interleague series for this weekend is going to be Phillies and Rays. Phillies not looking too bad. I may have to talk about them a little bit next segment, about this little surprise teams. They're sitting above 500. They're 6-5. Nice little start to the season. And the Rays are right where we thought they were going to be at 3-9. So if you're in Florida, a Florida baseball fan, might want to just go put a bag on your head, or just hope for better outings in the coming months or coming weeks, because both of your teams have the same record at 3-9 right now. Not too hot of a start, but maybe you already kind of expected that as a Florida baseball fan. The Mets are going to be hosting the Milwaukee Brewers, as we have Steven Matz going against Zach Davies today out. Two young pitchers, the lefty Matz and the righty Davies. Definitely good guys. Both guys looking for their first win of the season. For two teams that are sitting above 500, both have gotten off to nice starts. Mets have got off to a really, really nice start, only dropping one game so far on the season. They've had to win like 7 in a row now. All right, that's pretty much looking like that's it for Friday with regarding like notable pitching outings or pitching matchups that I like to kind of go over on this part of the show. We do have a couple tomorrow with Jake Arrieta and Chris Archer tomorrow in Tampa Bay. Arrieta making his second start for the Phillies, coming over on that deal. Remember, he did not sign that quickly, definitely taking his time to sign that deal, and now he's in the Phillies uniform, and he's looking to bounce back. I think he only lasted about 3 2/3 innings or 4 innings in his last start, giving up 3 runs. So he'll be going up against that Tampa Bay lineup, looking like he can maybe lower that ERA and getting his first win of the season, first win in a Phillies uniform. He was on a strict pitch count though, so he only threw 74 pitches in 4 innings his last start due to his late start in spring training. Chris Archer did get his first win of the season on Monday, but he's still sitting at that ERA, getting up close to 6. So it's going to be looking like he wants to go up against that Phillies lineup and try and get that down. Chris Archer's got those high strikeouts numbers, but he's definitely not looking like he wants to keep that ERA where it is. Then we have anywhere else. We had Chase Anderson is going to be facing against Matt Harvey. I don't want to go over Matt Harvey again. I've talked about him a lot because he's not really that he's not the top guy right now in the Mets rotation, which is just fine for him probably because he doesn't really want to be. And when he is, it seems like he doesn't do as well. So he's going to be going against Chase Anderson as the Mets and the Brewers continue their series over the weekend on Saturday. Anything else to note? Nothing really else on Saturday. But there is going to be an Ohtani sighting on Sundays. That's pretty much what the Angels have come out and are saying. It looks like Shohei Ohtani is going to be pitching pretty much every Sunday for the Angels, as they're going to keep him on that trek, and then he'll probably play 3 or 4 games during the week. So I mean, he's sitting at 2-0 with a 2.08 ERA, and going up against that Royals team that doesn't look like it's going to maybe give him that much attention, that much difficulty, especially with the nasty stuff he's got. The Arizona series, the final game of that series is going to be Zach Godley against Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw's still looking for his first win, and then you got Zach Godley, who's pitched very well. If you want to go watch a guy who's got a nasty right-handed curveball, go watch this game, Diamondbacks and Dodgers. As Godley is 2-0 and definitely worked his magic against the Giants last game, where he had 9 strikeouts over 7 scoreless against San Francisco, where his curveball was just absolutely devastating. Just kind of fall off the mound a little bit, but he just really finishes those pitches. Got that spike curveball where he kind of digs his finger into into the seam and has that really, really sharp break at the end as it comes to the plate. The Sunday Night Baseball game on ESPN is going to be Texas versus Houston, that old Texas rivalry I was talking about just a second ago. They finished their series. It's going to be Bartolo Colon, our Lord and Savior. If you're a baseball fan, he is the Lord and Savior, against Justin Verlander, who has had a very nice start to his first full season as an Astro. He's 2-0 with a 1.45 ERA. Colon also has had a decent start. He only allowed 1 hit on 6 innings in his first start against the A's, and 10 strikeouts. So, he's also pitched 2 scoreless innings of relief in his last outing against the Blue Jays just a week ago. And then Verlander, he's done very good. Has now won 9 consecutive decisions over his last 11 regular season starts, posting a 1.34 ERA. In his last start, he was lights out. He's got already 23 Ks on the season as he's looking to continue that route. That streak of his as he goes to the mound on Sunday to pitch for the Astros in his first full season. This is a guy who came over in a trade. He was a guy who was going to win the World Series for him, and he got his first ring in the Houston Astros uniform. He's been to the World Series before. He did go with the Tigers in 2012, where they got swept by the Giants. But yeah, he's going to be going against who they like to call Big Sexy, Bartolo Colon, against Verlander. So it's going to be an interesting matchup to watch. That'll be on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. A 5 o'clock Pacific time start, 8 o'clock Eastern. So be sure to look for that one if you want to watch a cool little pitching matchup with Colon and Verlander. Syndergaard alert. We do have one of those going. He's starting on Sunday. It's going to be an early game in New York as the Mets and the Brewers finish their series. Jhoulys Chacín is going to be going against Noah Syndergaard. And then the biggest matchup, we'll say the best for last, I think, is going to be the Red Sox in Baltimore as they finish their series in Boston. It's going to be Dylan Bundy against Chris Sale. I mean, look at those ERAs right there. Both sitting sub-2. Chris Sale's had a great little start to the season, only allowing 2 runs over 17 innings of total work. He has 23 strikeouts and just 3 walks. So, and then Dylan Bundy looking like a ace himself. He is still looking for his first win. Got settled with a no decision, but he's definitely pitching like he deserves a win. He's only allowed a few runs over his innings pitched and struck out 25 guys. So definitely looking like a matchup to look for, as that game is going to be played in Boston, a day game, as those teams are going to have a getaway day over there in Fenway Park. So definitely a pitching matchup to look at, as that is probably the number one matchup of the weekend, Sale versus Dylan Bundy. So definitely one to look at there. If you're on the West Coast, that Godley and Kershaw one is also looking pretty tasty as well. So. And then we'll obviously have a Steven Strasburg start on Sunday. And I'll be recapping all of those on Monday. So be sure to tune in for Monday's show to have my take on what happened there. And we'll also definitely be talking about Shohei Ohtani as well, as we like to do on the show quite a bit. All right, that'll wrap it up for that segment. We went over kind of the games and different pitching matchups to watch over this coming weekend, and different series that we kind of like. There's not really that many big series. We do have the Rangers and Astros. That's a good little series, but the Rangers are definitely down this season. The Astros should be able to take care of them. And then at Boston and Baltimore, as we have a AL East matchup, but Boston definitely coming off this Yankees series are going to be looking like they can take care of the Baltimore Orioles there. All right. So in the next segment, we're going to be talking about teams that have coming out to a great start. I mean, you know who you are, and we're going to look at some surprise teams and see if those guys can keep it rolling as we continue through this first inning of the season. Remember, I did say 18 games. Every 18 games is an inning, so we're still in the first inning here, and we are going to be in the first inning for a little bit longer. So we'll see if these teams who have jumped out to nice starts can keep it going. I know there are some teams who will, but there are some teams who weren't supposed to or weren't projected like that. So we'll be talking about that when we come back.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
All right, welcome back to the final segment of this GSMC Baseball Podcast, the Friday edition. It is Friday the 13th, and this is the Baseball Podcast. I mean, baseball people are superstitious, but I mean, it's just April, Friday the 13th. We can appreciate that as we continue on here in this GSMC Baseball Podcast, and we're talking about some teams that have made some surprises this season to start off their season. Most likely, we're going to be talking about the Atlanta Braves and the Pittsburgh Pirates to start off the show, and the fact that the Washington Nationals are sitting second to last, only ahead of the Marlins in the standings out in the NL East. But yeah, I mean, you gotta like it if you're a Pirates fan. You're sitting atop we're sitting atop the NL Central, above the Cubs and the Brewers, who are supposed to be those teams that are going to be fighting for it. The only problem is that you need to think about sustaining that run. I mean, you have some good pitching, you're getting good hitting, and that's pretty much the combination you need for baseball. You need to have good pitching and timely hitting. I mean, you could win as many 2-1 games as you want because you have some good pitching and you get a base hit in the eighth inning, but You might need to have a couple of those blowout games or a couple of those slugfest games as well mixed in there. But definitely got to like it. If you are a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, you got Jameson Taillon throwing the ball really well. You got guys hitting it like Polanco and Marte. Obviously, and the addition of Corey Dickerson is really nice. I mean, I like how he sits up in that order. A guy who likes to hit home runs and also has a good eye to the plate, takes his walks as well. So if they can keep that going, get those pitchers still using those young pitchers. I mean, Taillon was a highly touted prospect for sure, coming over now playing in his, I think it's going to be his second full season in the major leagues, but definitely working on his craft and getting things going the way he wants to as they continue on their run. We need to highlight their series a little bit coming up this weekend. They're going to be placing the Marlins, so looking like they could probably get some more wins there and add to their total that they've already claimed already. But it is early, and we have to think about. I mean, my favorites of this the Central Division were the Cubs and then the Brewers after them. So I mean, they haven't faced off with each other yet. The Pirates did take two out of three from the Cubs, though. And we'll be seeing how they transpire the rest of the season. I mean, like, it is a long haul, and if you're a Pirates fan, you got to be like, okay, we're enjoying this time in the early going, but can we continue to play at this high of a level? I mean, obviously, when you have the pitching, when you get a Taillon start, he can be a stopper. They've also got some good starts from the rest of the rotation, so you can't put that aside. I mean, when you get even a guy like Cool, who's going tonight. I mean, his last name is Cool. Yes, Kuhl, Cool. So, I mean, he's 1-0 with a 5.06 ERA, but then when you're 1-0 with that kind of ERA, that means you're getting some pitching, some run support. So that's kind of how you got to do it. If you're a team that has some good pitching performances, you might get lower runs, but if a guy needs some run support, you can definitely turn the bats on. That's always nice to have that. So the Pirates looking like they are turning it on this time of the year, and they'll see if they can. Are they just a team with a hot start, or they're going to be a team that's going to keep it going the rest of the season? The other team I want to look at is the Atlanta Braves. Second full year in their new ballpark, beautiful ballpark down there in Cumberland, Georgia, just north of Atlanta. As the Braves, they didn't want to. I mean, think about Turner Field was that field that was built for the Olympics, and they kind of converted it into a stadium. That was a nice stadium as well, but they definitely wanted to have something of their own, and with more of the club level feel and more suites and more stuff to do, then they can definitely call their own kind of stadium. So they are now in SunTrust Park up in northern Atlanta. Greater Atlanta area, their second season there now, and looking like a park that's going to give up a lot of home runs because they did give up a lot of home runs last year. So they're coming up with the series against the Cubs. The Cubs just had a tough series against the Pirates, like the team I just talked about before. Now they're going to get another upstart team in the Braves. We'll see how they match up. We got Anibal Sanchez and Jarvis going today, and then a couple other guys. Sunday you got Julio Teheran and Tyler Chatwood, but those are just the pitching matchups. You got to think about those lineups. You got to like those lineups out there in the lineup you got for the Braves. I mean, Nick Markakis holding it down in right field. You still have your Acuna, who had the big spring. He's still sitting down in the minor leagues for a little bit. Having a slow start down in the minor leagues could delay his arrival, but looking like the Braves kind of need it. They're sitting above 500 right now, so you got to like that if you're a Braves fan. The other team that got off to a hot start, Minnesota Twins, they're 7-4. You like that up there. They definitely shored up their pitching rotation. Got a guy like Lance Lynn. Finally, as he held out for a little bit, couldn't decide where he wanted to go. Finally took a 1-year deal from the Twins. But then when you have young guys like Max Kepler going deep twice, hitting walk-off home runs, I mean, there's lots of ways to win. There's lots of ways to win in baseball. There's lots of different ways to win. So if you're a Twins fan, you gotta like the fact that you're sitting at 7-4 it was supposed to be kind of a weak division out there in the Central. They let the Indians run away with it, but the Twins aren't doing that. I mean, they got a nice little lineup. They got Brian Dozier. I mean, you still got Joe Mauer playing first base, hitting DH. Eddie Rosario, Logan Morrison, you just signed. You got Max Kepler. Byron Buxton's a great talent out there in center field. See if you can get the hitting figured out. But if you're a Twins fan, you got to like the power. And you got Sano, obviously. He did not play on Wednesday, but you still have Miguel Sano. He hits a lot of home runs. He's got a great power and also plays a pretty good little third base. So if you're a Twins fan, you got to like that and see how they these teams that they're getting after the hot starts, it could be dictated by the fact that they're playing an easier schedule as they continue on. I mean, like the Pirates and the Mets. The Mets didn't play. I mean, they played the Nationals already in Nationals Park in the nation's capital, and then the Cubs have also had to play the Pirates have had to play the Cubs in Chicago. So I mean, these teams that are getting after the hot starts, they're showing that they can play with the big boys, and maybe they're getting them at the right time, where these teams haven't kind of figured out their lineup, or their pitchers are still maybe figuring out their bullpen, stuff like that, because that's really what I've seen over the last few days. It's these bullpens that are kind of blowing up a little bit and giving up a lot of runs late in games, as we've seen across the major leagues a lot. We see a lot of runs being scored late in games, especially this week with a couple walk-offs that we saw on Wednesday. All right, anything else? We got the Mets. I mean, the Mets are an interesting team. They've only lost one game, but they have the pitching. I mean, I wouldn't really call them the biggest surprise of the Major League Baseball. They have the pitching. They have DeGrom and Syndergaard up there at the top of the rotation. Obviously, Steven Matz is a nice little lefty. Matt Harvey's trying to have like that renaissance year, as he's sitting under the radar right now. Not really the top guy that everybody's looking at, not getting on the cover of ESPN magazine or Sports Illustrated or what have you, like he was when the Mets went to the World Series in when did they go to the World Series? 2015. They lost to the Royals. Yeah. So Matt Harvey, definitely not the guy he was back then when it comes to being in the spotlight, which is probably just fine for him. I've preached it all the time. Matt Harvey doesn't really need to be in the spotlight. He can just go along, pitch his game, and deal with it. The Toronto Blue Jays, they're by 500. They're sitting behind the Red Sox right now in second place in the American League East. I mean, I'm talking about standings right now. I'm just saying that's where they're stacking up. Nothing's really, like I said, we're still barely in the middle of the first inning right now, if you're looking at that 18-game interval like I was talking about earlier. But if you're a Toronto Blue Jays fan, you got to like the fact that you're starting off above 500. You're pitching well, you're hitting well. You got Josh Donaldson going, and your lineup's looking pretty nice. As you have liked before, you got to hit a lot of home runs if you're a Blue Jays team, because you got to have a team that hits a lot of home runs, because that's how their park's designed. You're probably going to give up a lot of home runs, and not that it may be bad, but not that it's you have bad pitching, but just kind of the way it is with that stadium. Balls tend to fly out of that park, so you got to be able to hit as many as you can, and having a guy like Josh Donaldson is definitely a nice thing to have in that lineup, to be able to have a little spark of power. And then obviously you have Jose Bautista, who he held out a while this offseason. I mean, he was one of those guys who did not sign. And still, I mean, did not sign at opening day. I mean, there was 9 guys who didn't sign during opening day. I mean, there's definitely notable people. Melky Cabrera being one of them. Matt Holliday, Jose Bautista, Mark Reynolds just signed with the Nationals on a minor league deal. J.J. Hardy, Escobar, Seth Smith, Andre Ethier, Brandon Phillips still has not signed as opening day has come and gone. But yeah, I mean, it's just interesting to see that those guys haven't gone. We have Jose Bautista, who's been a big stalwart in that lineup for the Blue Jays, but it looks like they're doing it without him right now, because he still remains a free agent, and either is going to figure out that deal or takes a year off or whatever he's going to do. He's a good player though, so he needs to get somebody could use him, couldn't they? But not the Blue Jays. They're 8-5. They're doing fine right now. We'll see how it goes the rest of the season. Like it says, people go in slumps, players go in slumps, teams go in slumps. I mean, you never know. And then also you have teams that have a good, nice way to start the season, nice string of games where you're playing teams that are probably not looking like they're going to be doing well this season. There's a lot of teams who are not surprising me at all, like the Reds, Rays, Marlins, Padres, to name a few. Everybody kind of sitting at the bottom of their respective divisions. Not really big surprises there. All right, we're coming to the end of our show here on a Friday. As we're going to hit the weekend, we definitely recapped the week. We talked about some unwritten rules in baseball and some things that happened on Wednesday regarding the brawls and some unruly actions in the middle of our lovely, cherished baseball fields. But everybody go watch the videos; they actually were pretty good. So. If you're missing a good brawl in baseball, which we kind of don't see that often, when the bench is clear, it's kind of just some jawing at each other. But I recommend, if you haven't watched those videos yet, go take a look and see how hard Tyler Austin smashed his bat against the plate and snapped it, and then ran at Joe Kelly, and also see that Luis Perdomo tried to throw his glove at Nolan Arenado and just totally missed him. Arenado did a little jump dodge and then kind of ran right after. He chased him around the field. It was pretty good, pretty funny. And then there was some blows. Everybody wants to stay healthy. You don't want to break anybody's hand or cleat somebody in the pile. But yeah, it's interesting seeing that we had two pretty decent brawls on the same day. All right. We went over the games coming up this weekend. I highlighted some pitching matchups that I like to see. Nothing really going on until Sunday. We do have a cool, interesting little Sunday night baseball matchup with Cologne going against Verlander, Rangers versus Astros in Houston. So be sure to watch that if you. That's going to be the nationally televised game on ESPN. All right. So. Until Monday, everybody enjoy their weekend. This is the GSMC Baseball Podcast. I am Tom Dougherty, and until I see you on Monday, everybody enjoy their baseball and have a good one.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.